the apartments and flats in Amsterdam. You put a pulley up there, every floor has a manhole, so you pull up your grand piano higher and higher, and your other furniture as the flats go up. And I found out later, experts visited us, and they have a similar, more beautifully drawn drawings, but adaptation. We call it not just mitigation, but adaptation to architect. The same here. So going higher and higher, and then if you're not yet rescued, the material of your roof can be your lifeboat. So these are now the cities that are liable to flooding. Raise the city about the flood lines. The roads, the city hall, the houses, and let's let the flood waters go through you. Because many centuries ago, cities were port-driven cities, started by the port. And then railway cities, the next stage of urban development. Then freeway, highway cities. I was told this century will be airport-driven cities, aerotropolis. That's why KJL knows they located across the Clark Airport. Earthquake, ground rupture, liquefaction, and so on. Yeah. The Philippines is in earthquake zone number 4, just like California, Taiwan, Japan, the shores of China, except Palawan. The Mayor Hagedorn thanked me for saying this, but he said the downside is all the land values of Palawan has gone up ever since I told the media Palawan is from another tectonic plate. So these are the two fault lines. The West Valley fault line, we used to call it Marikina fault line, and the East Valley fault line. It's available, the details of this are available at the Philbox, Philippine Volcanology. And some of the baby fault lines as well, around Laguna Lake and so on. This came from Philbox. Some countermeasures, structural measures like seawalls, breakwaters, tide control gates, flood gates. This is the 101 building in Taiwan. They put a pendulum to balance off the swaying of the building on top. I gave the former president and President Aquino, July 7, his 7th day in office, 16 recommendations to address disasters and 10-year plan and program. Like international standards, every resident must have at least 1 square meter of evacuation area, around 10 hectares. And that one should have an area for emergency clinic, emergency food station, water station, a helipad, and emergency shelters. We don't have that in Metro Manila. Our office is on Ayala Avenue, south of Ayala Avenue. And our evacuation area identified is the Legazpi Village Park. And I was calculating, if all the employees of the call centers, BPOs come down, we don't all fit. So our second option now is the South Cemetery as an evacuation area. So these were the recommendations we did, and a 10-year plan and program. And we have our own emergency preparedness response, Palafox Associates. Like, we are on the 11th floor of the building, and we found out the fire trucks of Makati is only up to 10th floor. So 20% of employees have to learn rappelling. So we have hammer to break the glass, a rope to go down Ayala Avenue. Every employee has a whistle and a flashlight. We encourage people to have a bottled water in front of them and some cookies, biscuits, just in case. And not just because of our ISO 14001, we're doing this. Every 10 persons, we have an emergency kit. We have extinguishers. I think every 5 persons has extinguishers. And I hope companies will do that also. So some of our, I was asked also if there's time, talk about the best and worst practices. And our practice, we do the triple bottom line. Planet Earth for the environment, social equity or people first, then profit. Unfortunately, most of maybe the past 50 years have been profit. We've forgotten about the environment. And just to demonstrate how we walk our talk, just 2 years ago, we gave up $1 million in architect's fee because our client reportedly bribed some people, and they were encouraged to destroy the urban forest of Subic, and 366 70-year-old trees. We returned our 1 million architect's fee contract, and we went against the project. And I got that threats and a 50 million pesos libel case for maligning the good name of the corrupt people of Subic. So, 10 principles of smart growth. I remember the American Planning Association, the American Institute of Architects, and I've asked the Americans, why do you call it smart growth? And they're telling us that American cities, especially post-war cities, have been doing dumb growth. So they call it smart growth. And they're addressing now the mistakes of urban planning, even in America. And I met the mayor of Los Angeles. He was telling, he announced to the rest of the world that Los Angeles was a mistake of 60 years. Because they designed Los Angeles for the automobile, not for the pedestrian. And so Daniel Burnham introduced to us the European planning. The American Daniel Burnham introduced European planning, more walkable, bikeable, mixed-use development. But when the Americans left, when we became a strong republic, we copied erroneously Hollywood. So if there are American cities that we should have taken lessons from, maybe more of the New England or even San Francisco. And we copied the car-oriented cities of America. So we should create a wide range of housing opportunities and choices, create walkable neighborhoods, encourage community and stakeholder collaboration and so on. Walkable neighborhoods. When we were designing Rockwell, I told the clients that we should not do it like the gated communities of Makati. And I had to point out good examples in the world like Capri Place in Boston, Embarcadero San Francisco, Canary Wharf London, Pacific Place in Hong Kong. High-rise mixed-use, walkable, bikeable. And a survey was done. We Metro Manilans walk only 400 meters. Maybe the Singaporeans, Europeans, Americans, you walk 2 kilometers, but Metro Manilans only 400 meters. We were spoiled by the stop anywhere tricycle, stop anywhere jeepney, stop anywhere bus, chauffeur-driven cars. So we designed Rockwell with that criterion. If you live there, the gym is within 5-minute walk, the place of worship, the shopping, the dining, and so on. I hope it will be. We wanted it more inclusive also, but there was more. The plan was make Rockwell exclusive, then across the river would be more the economic class, and fostering more attractive places, strong sense of place, make development decisions predictable, and so on, mixing land uses and so on. One of my professors in Harvard used to tell us, this century will be a re-century. Renew, reduce, reuse, recycle, replan, re-engineer, redevelop, and hopefully urban renaissance. Public-private partnership, you know more about this. The 2030 challenge, we're probably the only Filipino architects who signed up that by 2030, the buildings we design should be zero carbon footprint. One of the reasons why we gave up that $1 million fee, we would have been violating our own pledge that every year we reduce the carbon footprint of the buildings we design. We specify 10 trees for every car. It takes about 10 trees to recover the oxygen out of the carbon monoxide. In Dubai and Abu Dhabi, I specify 16 trees per car because they have larger shopping utility vehicles than the cars we have here. Worst and best practices. Again, the exclusionary zoning, intramuros, extramuros, inside the walls, zoning by segregation rather than inclusionary zoning. The urban sprawl and vertical urbanism. Our Asian neighbors like Singapore, they went more of the vertical urbanism. But the Philippines adopted the urban sprawl. And we met Mayor Richard Deli 3 years ago, and he was bragging to us that the Sears Tower, that's another name now, if he went urban sprawl, they would have destroyed 250 acres of farmland and forests. And the American Planning Association now, we are shaming big houses in the middle of the cities. Because if you have a large, most of us, including me, we live in gated communities in Makati or elsewhere. When you have a large house in the middle of the city, you have a larger carbon footprint because you are arrogating to yourself very prime urban land resources. You are creating more urban sprawl to encroach into the forest and into the farms. So when you have a large house in the middle of the city, you have a big environmental footprint. So the Bloombergs, the Rockefellers, the Clintons, or maybe even Lee Kuan Yew, when they are in the center of the city, they live in flats, apartments. The big mansions are in the suburbs. So Metro Manila is how not to plan a city. And we are experiencing it right now. The Makati Central Business District, the daytime population is 11 times the nighttime population. So you have the problem of bringing in the 11 times population in the morning and bringing them out in the evening. That's why I go for more high-rise residential in Makati or even in Ortigas. So we address the big imbalance between jobs and housing. And I'd rather have compatible mixed use of land. Somewhere in Canlubang, we tried, together with Andres Duani, new urbanist from Florida, to mix even housing units, the sizes and so on. Like a 1 hectare block like this, you can have a big house, and within that block, you could have shop houses. You live upstairs, maybe if you're a doctor, you have a house here, you have your clinic downstairs. So it became all the amenities of urban living would be walkable distance. Just like the old cities of Europe and the USA. And cities like Singapore, they're doing this. Yeah, and this one here, again, urban sprawl and house rules. So you can see again here the effects of urban sprawl and horizontal development versus vertical urbanism. Yeah. Okay, you can see it there. Yeah, thank you. I don't have notes, so I have to look at the slides. So transit-oriented developments versus car orientation. We really have to re-educate or educate our government planners. Because before the oil crisis of 1973, before the OPEC crisis of 1973, transportation planners, land use planners, urban planners were treating our road systems as how many cars per lane per hour. After the OPEC crisis, that's still the practice of our government planners. So many cars per lane per hour. After the OPEC oil crisis of 73, the rest of the world, especially the first world, they changed it to so many passengers per lane per hour. So you make it more efficient use. In 1977, we proposed in Metro Plan congestion charging in the CBDs at certain times of the day. We should have done about the same time as Singapore. But Singapore had more political will to implement it. I hope it's time to review it now. And in transport-oriented developments, when you have a transit station, you have higher density. Now, this is what we copied in Los Angeles, car-oriented development. And elsewhere in the world, like bicycle lanes and so on, Mayor Bloomberg, if you've been to New York lately, Broadway, he took away 2 lanes of Broadway, converted into pedestrians and tricycles, pedal tricycles. Of course, they are articulated. And he has now the bragging rights that New York has a smaller carbon footprint than Montana. Because he said, Montana, just to buy a bottle of Coke, you use your SUV. So he said he had it calculated. Yeah, best practices and urban planning paradigm shifts. So we have to shift now from the exclusionary zoning by segregation, using smart growth initiatives, new urbanism, vertical urbanism, inclusionary zoning, and mixed-use, multi-use developments. We are advocates of green architecture, green energy, green technology, green sustainable development, including green furniture, green interiors, and green infrastructure. Of course, the triple bottom line, public-private partnership, and so on. And here, we're practicing democratic architecture. I call it patriotic architecture, like my practice helping the poor. I don't call it pro bono. Patriotic and architecture for humanity, including all income classes. Architectural activism. I was told that what I'm doing, fighting corruption and working for the environment, my professor at Harvard tell me that we should get out of our architectural box and be an architectural activist, because corruption and so on impacts also on development and architecture. So we're practicing that in doing our new urban developments or redevelopment. So democratic architecture, mixed-use development, the greens, the 8 greens that we are advocating. We found, we were at the World Bank yesterday, and we asked them if they could help our government revisit our Jurassic laws. Like our zoning standards and laws are so obsolete pre-oil crisis of 1973.